Hello everybody, Bobby here, and today we're taking a look at the Mezco 112 Collectables Invincible Iron Man figure. Hoo-wee, this was my Christmas present this year, and, well, it was well worth it. I really enjoyed posing this guy. When I heard this thing got die cast all over it, I was like, this is an instant buy right now. Don't care if it's $90. Gotta get it. Because I don't have any Iron Man figures. Not in this scale, at least. I used to collect Marvel Legends as a kid, but over time, I sold them all in yard sales. So, it's probably really stupid of me to do, but, you know, I'm going back into collecting superhero figures again in this scale. And I'm not going back to Marvel Legends because, well, they just don't look appealing to me anymore. But this guy, on the other hand, is great. And let's just talk about the box, because this box, the logo at least, tell me it doesn't remind you of the old 90s Iron Man cartoon. You know, you know that old animated series. That logo just reminds me of that cartoon. Now, the figure, on the other hand, doesn't really represent that that show, but it is a very classic-looking Iron Man. But, you know, you have the awesome logo. You have Marvel, 112 Collectables, Iron Man. On the side, you get this... Pull the camera out a little bit for this. You know, you get the yellow, and it's all red, but on this side it's all yellow. You have the Iron Man helmet, 112 Collectables, or 112 toys. God dang, I'm sorry. Mezco toys, 112 Collectables on the top. And the same thing on the side. On the top, you have in black 112 Collectables, and then the bottom's illegal stuff that no one cares about. Reset the camera back under the wooden panel here. There we go. We have what contains in this figure. We're gonna get two repulsor blasts. We're gonna get the chest beam, or what other people have called the it's from Marvel vs. Capcom. What did they call it? I can't remember what they called it, but on the box it's the chest beam with the booster effects. You also have the wrist rockets, the power pods with the fuser missiles. I didn't know that's what they called these little discs on his side he had for so long. And he has, you know, different hands. He has the 112 base that everybody loves. And a few other things that we'll talk about when we get into the thing. Like the metal components. Light up features. Magnetic visor. Yes. And, you know, you slide this thing open. You're going to get what's in the box. Alright, let's just get this guy open and see what he's all about. Alright, getting into this guy. Wow, the color just pops out at me. Really. Look at the shiny red and the yellowish gold. The look of this guy is just really appealing to me. And I'm a fan of his more classic red and gold look, and this guy doesn't disappoint. You know, this is obviously, I believe, Mark 3, because I believe Mark 1 is the gray suit. Mark 2, comic book wise, was the gray suit painted gold, if I'm not correct. I don't know. And then this is Mark 3. But there was another version of this guy that had a helmet that had more like a horn design. Not horn, but the top of his helmet had more like a point more of a pointed edge to it. If you know what that is, if you know what I'm talking about. So I don't really. This is either Mark III or Mark IV. I can't remember. I never read any of the old school comics, so I'm not sure. And I don't know much about Iron Man's lore back in those days, except yes, it has something to do. Instead of it being I believe it was more recently is in Iraq. If you go by the movies, I may be wrong, but in the comics it was at least back in the 60s, 70s, 80s. It was Vietnam. I believe it was Vietnam. I might be wrong. I believe it was Vietnam. Was it Vietnam? I think it was Vietnam. Is the war that Iron Man got injured, and captured, and became Iron Man from. But I might not be correct on that. But this guy has a lot of shine to him. Look at that, man. He just looks awesome. So, getting into some of his gimmicks. He's got a couple gimmicks I want to talk about. First off, what is all the die cast? And using the Mezco stand as a little pointer, I'm not 100% sure. I tried to get a magnet to test it, and it didn't work out so well. But what I believe is die cast is this piece right here, the chest piece, the piece right in here. Not this piece. This is plastic. With the little pods here in the belt, that's plastic. But this is all die cast. This is die cast. Plastic, die cast, die cast, die cast. Except for this. Now I believe the neck and the head is all plastic as well. But the wrists are die cast, and I believe this is die cast as well. The lower legs, but the feet are plastic, I believe. Yeah, I think they're plastic. So all the yellow parts are definitely plastic. There's no die cast there. But what's interesting is, if I get in his base, he does have a little bit of a feature where you could take his faceplate off. It went flying. There it went. And you get this interesting Tony Stark head underneath. Now, I've heard some complaints about this head. We'll take the head off just to get a better look at it. The complaint is that his facial hair is pretty close to the padding color in the armor. And I agree, it does look odd. In my opinion, it does. So, getting this guy open, let's talk about his die-cast parts. So getting him off the stand, his die-cast, I would say, from what I believe is die-cast and not what is confirmed, I have no idea. I believe that this chest piece area is die-cast. The torso area, that's die-cast. This belt piece with the pods here, that's plastic. Everything that's yellow, everything that's gold yellow on here is plastic. The gauntlets here, the red gauntlets, except for the hands, is die cast. This is plastic. Feet are plastic, but the lower legs right here are die cast. So that's pretty much the metal components that you're going to get for this guy, which is pretty good. And the reason how I tested this is when I went in and put it in the freezer for a few seconds, about maybe 60 seconds, about a minute. You take it out, everything that's freezing cold is what your metal components are going to be. That's not it's not like it's an unknown trick, but that's how I figured it out. Probably isn't the best with the light in there, but but let's get into his special things he can do before we get into his accessories. Now, one of his better things is that he has a head underneath his faceplate. Now, the problem with this is his facial hair is pretty much the same color as the padding that's inside of his armor, which is kind of a little weird to look at, but I don't really have a problem with it. What's really interesting is that the faceplate has a magnet in it that you can just put on there, and it won't fall off, so it's all good. The next thing I would like to show off, which I will show one of the accessories with it real quick. You see this little back piece right here? Well, if you just lift it up, and there's a little switch, and this does come with batteries, and it's easy to pop on. It's not going to fall off either. But what's cool is this guy can light up his chest. That's really cool. What's even cooler, well, maybe not cooler than his chest lighting up, but if you can just, I'll do this off screen, off camera. Take his part of his chest, his part of his arc reactor off, and you take his chest beam and plug it in. It's really cool that the chest beam lights up too. What I'll do is I will turn the lights out so you can get a better look at this feature. See how bright this thing is. And this is with most of the lights out. Let's see if I can turn off this real quick. It don't matter. But you get the point. It's very bright. So bright that I hope it's not really blurry on the camera. And that was with most of the lights out, so this light is pretty strong, pretty bright. Now he also has a little base here, which is cool. It's got the arc reactor, and he comes with a peg for it too. It's not really the best, so I'm not gonna mess with that too much. And what I want to get into real quick is his accessories. So these hands, look at them. They got little peg holes. That's because he comes with these little repulsor blasts. And it's sculpted pretty well. It's got some blue in there. It's got these little pointy little beam effects coming out from it. And, I guess if you put by it, the chest beam can go through it too, but it don't really matter. It doesn't really do that. You can also peg it into his foot, but it's really not meant for that. It's meant for the hands. And he has both of them, and they do what they're supposed to do. They're not going to fall off. They peg in pretty good. Now, his other hands he comes with are a pair of these more open hands that they're not the same as the ones with the beam effects because there's definitely sculpted differently. There is no holes in there, so you can't peg the beams in these hands, but these are more relaxed, open hands. And then lastly, it comes with a pair of fist hands, which are sculpted great. These are the default hands he comes with out of package as well, so we'll just peg these hands off camera here to get a better look at what it looks like on the figure. Now, going back into the arms, his little gauntlets, both gauntlets have these little missile launcher things. Now, I mean, I say missile launchers, they're not going to really launch a missile action feature, but they come with these little missile effects, 2 of them, that peg into those little holes. So, I'll do it off screen again, because this is easy to do it off screen. But we'll just get this one here, and we will slide that in there, like so. And there we have Iron Man shooting some wrist missiles. Wrist missile. And it's cool, you know, he has like this clear missile flame effect coming out with a silver gunmetal painted tip for the missile. That's cool. You have your yellows and oranges and a little bit of red in there, so it's good. I gotta make sure I'm getting it on camera because it's missing a little bit. Now for his feet, he comes with, we'll get into the other one more thing in a second. These little off the ground blast effects, like he's flying. So basically, there's 2 of them for each foot, and there are 2 holes in each foot that they peg into, and they peg in pretty tight, so they're not gonna fall off. Well, when you're posing them like this, you're going to want to have them in a more flying pose. So, you know, get them more like this. I am Iron Man. Da-da-da. And, you know, you just take them off. Simple. They're casted in this blue clear plastic, and the flame effect is just, they look great. Excuse me. So next we have the little pods here, and what you do is you just simply, to replace them, you just take them off their little peg. This one's easier than this one. You see, whatever missiles, basically, this one's going to go on this side, this one's going to go on this side. It's pretty obvious, not that hard. Getting it on camera, there we go. And then peg this one in, like that. I dread breaking this on camera. I don't want to break it at all, but definitely not on camera. You gotta be careful with it. And it already looks like when he's doing his little pod missiles. They look cool, I guess. Probably wouldn't pose them with these too often, just because they're just, they're alright, but they're not a more iconic pose for Tony Stark, in my opinion, for at least this armor. I rather have him in more of a flying pose or a pulse reactor. I said it earlier, his beams here, or shooting his arc reactor beam, stuff like that. So last thing is his most important accessory, this little baggie. I am joking, obviously. Alright, well, getting into his size, let's see. He is about close to 6.5 inches tall. Which is pretty close to 7 inches. So this, and he's got some weight to him. He's a pretty heavy figure. So I'd say this guy would fit in your Marvel Legends collection if you wanted that, or any Marvel stuff in this scale. He would fit, in my opinion. Speaking of which, let's get into his articulation. Let's roll out the tape. Alright, so Iron Man's head can go without the neck up about that much. Can go down about that much without the neck. With the neck, it goes up about that much. And down about that much. Without the neck, his head can tilt about that much. With the neck, tilt about that much. Arms go up about that much. They go all the way around. Swivel at the upper arm. Double jointed elbows. Swivel at the little gauntlet area. And he's got, his, typical Mezco, his hands can go up and down. It can do this, and if you spin it the right way, it can do this. Your hand can go in any direction you need it to go. So with the torso, for the upper torso, it can go out about that much, and it can go in about not much at all, about that much. For the lower torso, I don't think it can go much lower either, about that much. And the upper torso, or in the lower torso going in, it's about that much. And there is some, they're all on ball joints, so you can tilt it a little bit. But there's a clicking noise when I'm doing that, so I don't like to do it too much. Now the legs are a little interesting. Because regularly the legs can only go up about that much, because the sculpting in here, it's going to prevent it from going up. So without doing this special technique, it's only going to go up about that much. If you pull the leg out and push, you'll get a little bit more movement, about that much of a kick up. But you got to be careful, because you just pull the leg out slightly. You pull the legs out slightly so you can do this. And even it looks a little weird, but still be careful when you're doing the legs. You don't want the articulation to break. And they go out about Nothing at all. They don't really go out that much. They don't go back that much. Going out, they go doing the splits about that much. Trying to fix it, probably back in. Okay, so the hips have a swivel that goes all the way around. Mine's starting to develop a little mark here. That was there when I got it, and you know, it's actually, I don't care, because the leg's gonna be more posed like this anyways. And if it's got a scrape, it's got a scrape. It just gives it character. So you know, you got the hip articulation. You got double jointed knees that are good. You got a swivel in the lower leg. In the lower leg, you got a little, right here in the calf, I would say, you have a swivel. And the foot's on somewhat of a ball joint, because there's a little bit of a pivot. Not much, but just a little bit of a pivot. And go up about that much, and down about that much. Nothing too extreme. So in all, he's not super articulated, but he's not terrible either. He's actually pretty good. So, you know, you can get him in these poses that you're going to need him to get into. It's just that some of the articulation you just need to be a little bit careful with. Now, there's a few Mezco figures that I'm going to compare him to real quick before I give my final opinion on this guy. So let's just show that off, shall we? Roll it out. So this is the 112 Collectables Iron Man compared to the 112 Spider-Man and Ash Williams from Evil Dead 2. You know, you really don't need to compare him with Ash unless you're doing a Marvel Zombies thing, but he does look good with Spider-Man. And I kind of want to do a main Marvel lineup display. I got a good Hulk to go with these guys. I got Captain America 112 coming in. I got nothing else. I want to get a good Wolverine to go with these guys, and there's so many from 112 from Mezco to pick from. I really want to get Ovan Logan, but I'm thinking either go with regular Logan or the yellow and brown Wolverine. But I really am like, but what about Old Man Logan? No, that sounds cooler. Also, I need to get a good Thor, and Mezco only has the Ragnarok Thor, and that's alright for me, but man, no, I'd rather have more of the Mjolnir Hulk Thor. Get a regular Thor, you know, and I might look into the Marvel Select, see if they got a good Thor to go on with these guys, but other than that, that's all I really need to get. Have a good Marvel Classic lineup. Other than that, the only thing else I would like to see to get is maybe a Hawkeye and Black Widow to go with them, so I can have a more major Avengers type of lineup as well to go along with them, at least the classic movie Avengers lineup. I don't know, it's just something to think about. Other than that, the Iron Man himself is just great. There's two different versions of this one. There's the black and yellow stealth suit, I think it's called, not the stealth suit. But the blue, I think the blue one, the all blue version of this is the stealth suit. Which is a PX exclusive, which I'm not getting any other ones, because this guy was $90. I'm not paying another $90 for a repaint. I think I've talked about how much I don't like repaints, so no thank you. But this Iron Man was pretty dope, and I gotta give it a 9 out of 10. Alright guys, I will see you in the next figure review. Bobby, out.